Hey folks, welcome back to New Script on the Block. I'm Alyssa Eshelman. I'm joined today with Ashley Hakes and Violet Connor, correct? Okay, perfect. I want to make sure I get the last name right. Violet is a screenwriter in the Phoenix area, and she's joining us today to go over her script, The Eternal Now. Awesome. Ashley, do you want to kick it off with anything? Introduce. I know we've done this a few episodes now. Hopefully you kind of know who we are.
Hopefully.
You go ahead and ask Violet questions. You go ahead.
Why are you turning the tables?
I introed.
Okay, fine. I don't know what questions to ask.
I don't know what
we technically haven't been formally introduced, so hi, I'm Ashley.
It's nice to meet you.
So I guess give a little bit of backstory of what got you into screenwriting and got you interested in it.
Yeah, so I grew up, half my childhood I was in foster care, and I was adopted when I was about 10, and one of the things I like to say is that movies helped me attach to my adoptive family, and we would have these movie nights. My dad would with the three oldest kids is kind of who would be a part of it, and so we would go to Blockbuster, when you can go pick out a movie.
Blockbuster.
And we'd pick out a movie, and a lot of it was 80s sci-fi. So we afterwards talk about the movie, and my dad, as young as because I came to live with him when I was 8, but the adoption didn't go through till I was about 10. So as young as 9 years old, he'd stop the movie afterwards and be like, what worked in this movie and what didn't work and what was believable? Was that character believable?
Okay.
What did you think about the plot? What would you have done different? That was a huge question.
Was he a writer?
No, he wasn't.
He just really loved movies.
We still always talk about movies and cinema and what works in movies, and he'll send me I watched this great one, and they'll send it to me, and then I'll read about it later. I'm like, he was right. My dad's a creative, I'd say. He gives my mom a lot of advice on decorating the house, but he owns a fastener company. He never went to college, and he started this fastener company, and it's very successful, but he just loves movies, And
That's so cool.
so we would talk about them, and a big thing was, what would you change? And so we'd always talk about what we would change in the movie, and what could we have made, how could we have made it better? So I guess I could say that I've been talking film theory since I was in 3rd grade, 4th grade.
That's cool though.
So yeah, and then I started kind of writing consistently back in 2010, just on a little blog that I had. And then after I had my son, when he was about 2, I did an 8-month online screenwriting course through Screenwriting U. And by the end, you basically have a screenplay written. And so they don't focus so much on the format and how to get that right. It's pretty much writing for the audience's emotional core. So they teach you how to write so it can hit that emotional core for the audience and draw them in. So
very nice.
Yeah, so I loved writing that way anyway, so it just kind of enhanced what I already did.
Yeah.
So, and then about 3 months after I finished, I just was I would just ghost that screenwriting board on Facebook, and I just kind of be on there looking, and somebody had shared that they were looking for a screenwriter to write this there was 2 different scripts he was looking for, and one of them was a dystopian type film, and then the other one was this Hallmarky Christmas type screenplay, and I was I could do that. I grew up watching rom-coms too, and so I applied, and then it was about 4 or 5 months later, he sends me an email saying, okay, I have it narrowed down to you and 3 other people. And then the producer sent me an email a week later saying, I picked you. And he goes, one of the reasons why I picked you is I spied on all your social media.
Oh my God, he was
I mean, not
like that
spied,
up
but
front.
like I think he kind of just probably like went and checked
Yeah,
out
yeah.
what I have out there.
Yeah.
And he's like, you seem like you were the most legit, and so
That's
I think
good.
social media, like
Really does
speaks.
something.
If you're authentic, I
I'm
think it speaks.
I'm
Yeah.
confused though, like, okay, so you spied on your social media and you seem the most legit in the sense of, like, he could see you were active in production or in writing
Probably
or
like
what?
writing, because I wrote on my social media, I write a lot of stuff, like kind of use it as a mini blog, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of stopped blogging about like 6 years ago, and kind of use that as like mini blog posts, I guess, so to
Okay.
speak. So I'll post something.
So you're
and,
putting
like,
out content.
Yes,
though.
that's a great
Yeah.
way to say it. I was
Yeah.
putting out content. Yeah.
Nice.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
so I think that's kind of why.
So that's really helped you in
Oh, yeah.
getting noticed or
Mhm.
recognized in your career.
Yeah, and then I was a part of this other screenwriting community, and another writer that I'm writing a screenplay with right now. It's like a time travel romance. I met through that, so it's a lot of networking.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, being in Arizona, like away from LA, it's a lot of online networking.
Yeah.
So something I'm hearing a lot of, and I don't want to like pigeonhole you, I just
Okay.
want to know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious. Because you've mentioned now that you did the kind of Hallmarky Christmassy story, and then
Yeah.
you're working on this romance that
Mhm.
deals with time. Like, so do you lean more to the like romance comedy like
Yeah.
side of the spectrum?
I would
or-
say
okay.
so. Yeah, and that's what's interesting because, like I said, like when I was growing up, we watched so much 80s sci-fi, and so it's just, I think I was like, I had this like kind of moment about a month ago when I was like, I feel really guilty that I love writing romantic comedy, romance, like scripts, because I feel like I'm kind of betraying like the art and heart of cinema, like the great movies,
Yeah.
that win these awards. Like they're not
Yeah.
always romantic comedy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like I really admire Nora Ephron's career and her writing, and I feel like if I could have any type of career, I would be honored to have something like hers. So I kind of had to have this like heart-to-heart talk with myself, like this is okay that you love writing this, and you should be really
you should
proud of it.
do what you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not to say like I don't like watching Tarantino movies, and like
Oh, yeah.
like I love watching Marvel, and so but I do love writing romantic comedy and romance.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like it and it makes you happy and you're good, then keep
Yeah.
doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
That's
a
awesome.
formula for a reason.
For
Yeah.
success, yeah.
At least for in your case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I hope so. I really do.
All right, so I know
okay.
that
Was that
even
the
if you
knock
don't,
at the door? Oh no, I think that was my foot.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. It
Yeah,
sounded so
no.
pronounced. So.
No, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
you're fine. Okay, so there really are only two characters in the script, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us, even if you don't have like a hard log line, like maybe just a brief summary of what the story is,
Sure.
and then we'll get into the actual script read and we'll break up who's going to read narration, who's going to read which parts.
Sure, yeah. So it's really just like a short screenplay about two people who go on this hike, and they kind of know each other, but they're still trying to get to know each other, and they just have a really like a lot of sweet moments on this hike, and kind of towards the end you figure out the hike isn't really what you think it is.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Twist.
there's a twist kind of at the end. And I don't want to say it's like a Sixth Sense kind of thing, but it is kind of.
Okay.
Like
Huh.
that,
A little creepy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, not creepy, but like, where
makes
you're
you
like,
think.
it makes you think, and you're like, oh, I probably should go back
Like
and.
there's something different. I should have gone
Yeah,
back
after
and
you
picked
go
up.
back, you probably want to go back, either read it or
Huh.
once, if it gets
Are you
produced.
hearing this, listeners? You're going to want to listen again.
Yeah.
Go back
Yeah.
and listen
Listen
again.
again.
Yeah, so it's kind of got a little twist at the end.
Okay.
It's not what you think. I
Really
guess, so to
cool.
say. And I like those kind of stories too. So
I'm
Oh yeah,
excited.
those are fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, there's no dead people. I see dead
There's no
people.
doubt.
But it's like that twist where it's like, oh, I
So
should.
not
yeah.
specifically the six.
Yeah.
It's not a direct rip-off. But,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Careful
I have a tendency to move my hands.
Oh,
and
it's
stuff, and
okay. No problem.
Okay. That's awesome. I'm
It's a
looking
really
forward to.
long log line.
It's okay. I'm looking forward to jumping into it. For you, what would be most comfortable? Do you want to read for narration? Do you
I could
want
do
to
narration.
Okay.
Yeah, would that be okay?
Yeah,
like, are
absolutely.
you good with that? Okay, I've never actually done a script read before, especially like of my own script. So this is like, this is really
the fun
awesome.
part is getting to see the personalities of writers because again they're not actors.
Yeah,
but it is fun.
Okay.
I'm gonna read for Pierce. You can read for Esme, or do you want to be the male role?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll read for Pierce. You read for Esme.
All right.
Okay. How'd you pick these names?
Oh, I love the name Esme. I've heard it like in a couple different like things. I read a story. I heard that name Esme. I heard it on Peaky Blinders. There's a character named Esme.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it. I'm like, oh, I'm not having any more kids, so I'm gonna name
I was
a character.
gonna say, and you're already a mother.
Yeah, I have 2 kids, so I'm like, it's gonna
definitely
be a character.
not trying to get another.
Yeah. And then I was like, Pierce, I just like had heard, and I was like, I feel like that sounds like a really strong name, and like in here his name's Pierce Riggs, and I felt like it's kind of like an homage to like 80s, like it felt like an 80s sci-fi kind of name.
Okay.
Pierce Riggs, you know.
Riggs.
Anyways, I kind of
totally
just
see
like
that.
I kind of threw that in there.
I'm sure Nero would really appreciate it.
Oh
too.
yeah. One of our coworkers, he's very into like that genre you're talking
genre.
about.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I don't know. I just kind of I liked them both. And Windrose, her last name, is like a street that I used to live on.
I recognize that.
I was gonna say that
name.
sounds
Like I feel like
very-
there's a famous character who has that name.
So
because
in Indiana Jones, I kind of got the idea from Indiana Jones. Marion Ravenwood, her last name Ravenwood, was a street that I think was it George Lucas had seen, or whoever wrote the script, I can't remember, had seen, and they were like, I want to use that in a script. So I had heard that somewhere. I'm like, okay, cool. So I kind of
So street names are totally fine.
So street names are good. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna use that street I used to live on.
Nice. Well, anything with Rose in it, I like.
All right. If you want to, we do read scene headings as well as action
awesome.
description,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Fine, yeah.
So whenever you're ready to jump into it.
Okay. Exterior mountainside day. 2 sets of feet are walking, shoes hitting small rocks, and dry ground is the only sound. It's spring, the flowers are in bloom, and the grass is still green from the April rain. A sign is passed by the 2 sets of feet. Mulholland Trail, Hollywood sign 1 mile, Griffith Observatory 2 miles. The 2 sets of feet stop in front of the sign. It's quiet for a moment. We see the faces that belong with the 2 pairs of shoes. Esme Windrose, mid-30s, looks about 10 years younger, wearing the perfect mix of yoga pants and an edgy rocker tee, shirt cut into a tank top. She has makeup on, heavy on the eyeliner. Pierce Riggs, late 30s, lean, muscular build. He looks smart and determined, wearing black everything, including his eyeglasses.
Want to go to the observatory?
And then the Hollywood side?
You didn't drive this far to miss that, did you?
You know why I'm really here.
The 2 walk slowly up the path. There are glances in each other's direction. A sense of calm and peace is between them. Comfort. It seems they have known each other for years, but it's only been a few months.
Want a piece of gum?
Is it that obvious?
No, it's not that at all. I like to hike and chew gum. If you don't...
Sure, I'd love some.
Pierce reaches in his pocket and hands her a stick of gum. She starts to chew it and studies Pierce with her brown eyes, almost as if she's trying to read his thoughts.
I have a confession.
A confession.
I smoke sometimes. I was so nervous before we started this hike, I smoked a cigarette, organic of course.
Let me guess. American Spirit?
How did you...
Menthols.
Could you smell it on me?
I've smoked a few in my lifetime.
Of course.
Can I ask you something?
Go for it.
Oh, sorry.
I mean,
Sorry.
go for it.
Sorry. For some reason, I thought that was narration. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
Do you want me to go again?
No, it's fine. It's fine. What made you think of going on this hike today?
You.
Me?
Yellow flowers line the path where they are hiking. The sun warms their faces. Pierce walks a bit in front of Esme. He turns his head and reaches back towards for her hand. She welcomes it in her hand with a smile.
You always share on Instagram how you love to hike, your pictures. They're very lovely.
Have you been on this hike before?
No, oh God. Hold on, sorry.
Runyon?
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I've been to Runyon Canyon, though.
I love that hike.
I hope you bring some mace with you if you go by yourself.
Would a knife be okay?
Even better.
Watch a lot of murder mysteries, eh?
You're one of a kind, Esme.
Tell me more about the smoking and why you were nervous.
You.
Me? I make you nervous?
Not you. Okay, yes, you, but it's more like I'm nervous because I don't want to mess anything up.
You didn't seem nervous at all to me when we met up earlier today.
Here's the thing. It's like this preparatory nervousness.
Is that a clinical term? I'd like to speak to your doctor.
I worry I'm going to ruin what we have. I know we haven't been hanging out for long, so I don't want to get ahead of myself either.
I'm glad we're hanging out.
Are you?
Oh God, yes. It felt like years while we were talking and getting to know each other, even though it was just a few weeks. I couldn't wait to meet you face to face.
Pierce's smile reaches to each side of his face. He holds Esme's hand a little tighter. His other hand covers their hand together. The silence speaks something delicate between them. A pause.
I'm in awe of your writing. I wanted to tell you that first night we met. I didn't want to scare you or make it look like I was a stalker. Oh, hey, I'm Pierce. It's nice to meet you. I've read every social media post you've ever written in the last month, maybe year, and I want to read more.
I can't imagine you being a stalker. You're pretty attractive. You're pretty attractive. Creative. Sorry. My God.
He's a real attractive guy.
I'm
Through
sorry.
the page,
No, you
Ashley's
can see it.
getting pretty hot.
I will go on record saying that I have flubbed up every
Every
recording
script we've read
today. So
You're okay.
let me go back. I can't imagine you being a stalker, and you're pretty creative yourself.
And good looking.
I love seeing your gorgeous photos, and you have a beautiful outlook on life.
Thank you. I can't imagine not using the lens to take photos.
Do you ever witness someone living their life, sharing their brilliant worldviews, and just think, wow, what an unbelievably beautiful human?
Esme takes a deep breath. Pierce looks at her for a moment. He's trying to hold back his excitement being around her. She's trying to hold back a flash of pain behind her eyes.
That's what I thought about you before. That's what I thought about you before we met. I noticed you, and I knew you'd notice me. I could tell it was a matter of two people scared to jump. I was weirdly okay with that, though.
I'm glad you're attracted to the snail mail pace of Pierce Riggs.
Honestly, it's refreshing.
That's good to know.
Do you ever feel like you're a war veteran of love?
You're getting nervous about being nervous. You're
I know.
just like Pierce.
I
You've
know.
already
See,
learned
I
a
should have
lesson
been
from him.
I should have been Pierce. Okay. Do you ever feel like you're a war veteran of love? I have PTSD from the pain.
Oh, yeah. There's about 100 supplements for it. I've taken them all.
I've thought about starting a VA hospital for all the bleeding hearts.
Let's blame it on all the damn residue from the blow-up fights and the residual wounds from past relationships.
Exactly. Wounded would be an understatement. I think if you jumped right in and were eager and unrelenting with me, I would have ran the opposite way like Forrest Gump.
You aren't alone in that. I think our pace has been perfect. It's the right beat for where I'm at in my life now.
You know, self-restraint gets such a bad rap. I've seen it described as something dogmatic.
That is the right word.
Okay, good. Making sure I'm
Do you want
saying
to start
that
from
right.
I've seen?
Yes. I've seen it described as something dogmatic, when in fact it speaks volumes about who you are.
Esme and Pierce keep walking. Silence covers them for a moment as the sun shines brightly on them. Each take a turn looking at each other, longing to say something.
There's some monarch butterflies. Oh, sorry, they're like physically here. Okay.
Yeah.
They are with us right now.
Like he's pointing. I probably should have said that.
Okay, good, gotcha.
I could.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Oh, there's some monarch butterflies. I caught some really rad photographs of them last year.
Before we met, I went hiking on another mountain. I saw 2 monarch butterflies flying, dancing almost. It was beautiful. I thought, if something this breathtaking can happen in nature, it could happen for me in the future.
The future is a concept. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as tomorrow. The time is always now.
Oh my god, philosophical.
I know, right? I thought it was really. I like it. I know. I was like,
That's one of the things we discover when we stop talking to ourselves and stop thinking. We find there's only the present.
You're so a fan of Alan Watts.
Does that surprise you?
You never stop surprising me.
Wait until you hear my go-to song for karaoke.
Katy Perry Firework?
How did you know?
Pierce stops on the path. He turns to Esme and wraps his hand around her waist gently. She turns to look at him, square in the eyes. Their gaze holds. Pierce takes a deep breath.
Do you remember when we first met?
I do.
Really?
There were people everywhere at dinner. There were people everywhere at that dinner. You walked by me. There wasn't much room, so you wrapped your arm around my lower back to pass me.
Begin flashback. Interior, a beautiful house night. Esme is in a short black tank top dress. It's classy yet sexy. She's standing by the hors d'oeuvres table, eyeing everything like she hasn't eaten for a week, which is probably 100% true. There's a soft
struggle.
You know, right?
Yep.
There's a soft glow around her, and people are inaudibly talking, a buzz of great energy. Pierce appears and is wearing black jeans, a gray V-neck shirt, and his hair is perfect. He has a gait that's easy and confident. Pierce walks by Esme, and the screen slows down. He inches closer to her, trying to walk around her, and it suddenly slow-mo zooms on him, wrapping his arm around her waist to walk by. Their eyes meet, and we hear a slight warp sound. It's almost as if we can hear the particles of their DNA entangle as they connect. Magic.
It was such a small moment, but I felt this energy. It was like this mix of familiarity and desire. I didn't know you, but I knew you at the same time, if that makes any sense.
So much sense.
I wanted to sit down right there and get to know you. I wanted to talk about life, movies, and the cosmos for as long as we both shall live.
You did?
I also wanted to run the other way because I have never felt that type of magnetic pull towards anyone ever in my life. It terrified me. I've been hurt. I can't let it happen again.
I get that. I'd want to run as far from me as possible.
Stop it. That's not what I meant. I meant pain. I wanted to run the other way because of pain.
I've been called that too.
Let me finish. I wanted to say that I'm really glad I didn't run the other way.
Esme.
Please say that again.
What?
My name.
Esme.
I love the way you say my name.
Exterior Mountainside day. Pierce leans into Esme. As he does, he rips a piece of gum. She's chewing. Sorry, there I flub. Esme rips a piece of gum she's chewing out of her mouth. Pierce opens his eyes wider and does the same. As each of their pieces of gum fall to the ground, they lean in to kiss each other. First, Pierce kisses Esme deeply. As Esme starts to kiss him deeply, she pulls her face back.
I can't. It's too much.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's not you. I'm just...
It's okay. I understand.
Pierce starts to take some steps backwards. It's like time is reversed in his step. He keeps walking backwards as Esme becomes very confused.
Where are you going?
It's okay. I need to go, but I'll be back.
As Pierce continues to walk backwards away from Esme looks down at her feet. She can't move them. Her feet are glued to the ground. She tries to shake them free. She's trembling with fear. Esme reaches out a hand to Pierce.
Wait!
Don't worry, I'll be back soon.
Pierce's voice sounds like it's going down a tunnel. Esme is crying. She's the very definition of a hot mess express. Everything starts to turn black around her. In a dreamlike sequence, she starts to fall backwards in slow motion as everything continues fading black around her. Her arms are flailing as she loses her balance, and her eyes close to black. Interior apartment day. Esme's eyes open. She blinks and closes her eyes hard as if to go back to what just happened. It doesn't work. Esme reaches her hand to her lips as if to feel Pierce's lips on hers. She rubs her eyes and is completely still for a few moments. Esme reaches her arm to the empty side of the bed. There's no one there. There was never anyone there. After a deep sigh, she wipes her tears and gets out of bed. Begin montage. Esme begins her day. A dog jumps on the bed. Esme snuggles with her for a minute. Quick cuts to Esme's silhouette in the shower, walking around in her bra and underwear, holding a shoe and looking for the other. Esme looks at herself in a full-length mirror wearing sharp business clothes, eating a bowl of cereal while holding the page of the newspaper. Lips in the mirror with lipsticks tracing them. Inside of a car with the windshield wipers briskly erasing raindrops. Streets with obvious California landmarks. A sign of a coffee shop appears. Feet start walking inside. Esme walks to the coffee shop. It's a very familiar national chain that serves legal stimulants to the masses. She opens the door and walks in. Esme orders her drink, an almond milk cappuccino. The cashier takes her name and she waits. Chatter from the coffee shop fills her ears as she checks her phone. She's engrossed in reading something. Her name is called out. Her drink shows up on the bar. Esme hears a familiar voice.
Esme?
She walks up to the coffee bar and looks at the barista. Esme zeroes in on his green apron. The name on it says Pierce. She takes a deep breath. It's him. She reaches for her drink.
Thank you.
Esme and Pierce lock eyes. It's a familiarity. They both know it. There is a magnetism.
Hey, you wrote it,
There's a magnetism that pulls them together. We've seen it before. It's obvious to everyone around them. They breathe in the moment. We see the sides of their profiles staring at each other. Esme and Pierce both smile. Fade to black.
I like it.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna have like a ton of questions.
Yeah.
At this point in the show, we do cut to a break.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. This podcast is brought to you by Arizona Studios. Arizona Studios, a full-service video content specialist. We're here to illuminate your message and compel your audience to take the right action. For more information, head to our website at arizonastudios.com and be sure to tune in for more content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. All right, so this part we kind of get into questions to understand, where the piece comes from, the way you develop the characters, things like that. And then after that, we might talk about like specific choices you made in the writing, and probably get even more questions. So,
Okay.
And I know I already have a zillion. So this was based off of a sort of personal experience, correct?
Yeah, I had a dream years ago, and it was the hiking part in the screenplay. It was me hiking up a hill with a man, and I get to the top, and I don't know who this person is, and we're both chewing gum, and there was this comical moment where we realized we wanted to kiss each other, and we're scrambling to take the gum out of our mouth. And it was so funny because I think even my dreams, this romantic comedy was trying to bust out. And so
even in my dreams I'm awkward at romance.
I know, even in there. Yeah, I'm seriously not a winner at it. I don't know why I write it and why I like it, but I do. And then kind of that moment where it was we kiss, and then he starts to walk backwards because I got nervous, and I'm like, wait, and then fade to black, basically. I wake up.
Okay.
And so I couldn't get it out of my mind for years,
And to your knowledge, the guy in your dreams, do you know him at all?
I still don't. Yeah. It was like a faceless person, I guess, so to speak.
Oh, no.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
You know how, in your dream you have, faceless, you know.
We made a horror film
About Faceless?
with
With people
With
who
people
have no
who
faces.
have no
What is
faces.
it? Do you know what that means, like psychologically?
I have no idea.
don't
See,
know,
and
but I can look
I
into
thought,
it.
and I could be totally wrong. I haven't had that in my dreams.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen to other people, but
Yeah.
I haven't personally experienced that. I thought that any face you see in your dreams, even ones that you don't recognize, are
Yeah.
always someone you've seen at some point in your life, and you
yeah.
retain it in your subconscious.
It's like a subconscious.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the subconscious.
Like coming through in your dreams.
Yes, I love
Yeah,
that idea.
I just think it's crazy to think that all these people that I don't know at all, like, I have
Yeah.
seen them, even if it was just once for a few seconds in my life, and now they're still in my head somewhere.
Yes. Why are they in here?
Bye, Nero.
Bye, Nero.
I love that idea. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously his lips weren't because, you know, we kissed, but,
Yeah.
like, it was Faceless Person. And I just had this in my mind for, like, years. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I even wrote it down. Like, I get really vivid dreams, so I always write them down. And
That's
so, you do too?
Keep a dream journal,
yeah,
folks.
it's really handy.
Pro tip.
If you're a writer, it's so
Yeah.
handy. So.
Well, even if you don't explore it for the sake of screenwriting, like, writing down your dreams can be the start of just getting into writing for visual. Yeah.
So I was going to turn it into a short story and just kind of like share it. I kept toying around like with different ideas, and I was going to share it like through like social media or like my blog because it's still out there if you guys want to read it.
Ooh. Yeah, give us an at.
Yeah,
What's your handle?
It's just at Violet Connor, or it's like, you know, violetconnor.com.
And you do spell Connor Conner.
ER.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And then I do like write a lot on my Instagram. But yeah, so then you guys reached out to me and I was like, it's gonna be a short screenplay. It was just the first thing that came to my mind. And
Awesome.
kind of like my creative process, I just kind of let it sit in there, and once I feel like, okay, I have these characters down, that's when I feel like it just pours out after that. You know, like when they say writer's block, I think a lot of times writer's block is because you don't know what you're going to write. And part of the writing process is just sitting and staring
Mhm.
and, like, you know,
Just thinking for a while.
thinking,
and
like, I'll be
absorbing
at
the
work and I'll
page.
just be staring, and one of my managers, like, I'm really curious to what you're thinking, and I'm thinking about writing.
Yeah.
And so people negate that, like, those times when you're just actually sitting still, staring.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
part of the writing process. In the car, staring while you're driving.
Oh man, while I'm driving is
Yeah.
like definitely. I think a lot of people have those in the shower moments.
Yes.
For me,
Yeah.
it's in the
That-
car.
Yeah,
like when I'm
that's me
driving.
too.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. And so those times are so vital to the writing process. And I feel like a lot of times writer's block is because you haven't like spent that time just like basically staring.
Yeah.
Just like being
So-
by yourself with your thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Instead,
then,
you're just occupying your mind with other media
Yeah.
to entertain yourself. But it's like,
Yeah.
hey, take a break.
Yeah.
Stare at this speck on the wall.
Yes. Yeah.
What does it mean?
Oh, man.
That's how you
Yeah.
start.
There's a scene in Daredevil, and that is definitely how that came to pass.
Oh.
The TV series?
In the series, yeah.
I love that series.
When he's staring at the wall. Oh
Yeah.
my God, this the writing on the first season of Daredevil. If anyone
hard to get
hasn't checked
into.
it out,
Yeah, it's
very good.
Yeah, it's hard to get into that first episode, but after that, it's
Oh
so
yeah.
good.
I mean, the villain
Yeah.
really makes
Oh
the
yeah,
series.
totally.
Yeah, I have so many questions. Do you have?
No,
do
go
you-
ahead.
Okay, so right
Go
off the
for it.
bat, and here's the deal. I'll be honest. I'm going to be very upfront. I am not the biggest romance fan,
Okay.
but I recently, like, hard binged Jane the Virgin.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have been told I really need to watch it.
You really do.
I need to.
But I guess, like, and I could be totally off on this. I don't know what your intention was, but when I read the male character, to me, there's, like, this very fantasy, romanticized, like,
Okay.
way in which he reads. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he talks, like, he's witty, he's okay with her saying all these things that are normally, like, you know, when you're in an early relationship,
Yeah.
like off boundary, like, ooh,
Totally.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
some like stuff that's said that I'm like, I would never say that on like a second date. Like,
You don't talk about marriage on the
you
second
know,
date.
yeah, exactly. Like all of it.
I know, right?
But the relationship dynamic, and again, like it pans out at the end because it turns out that it's a dream.
Yeah.
But it does seem like this very, again, like romanticized version of what
Okay.
what
pictures.
what she wants
But in
this
the
man to be or
subconscious, you're
say.
kind of doing that.
Yeah. So, but it made me think of that because in that show they talk a lot about, like the genre is not just like romance because it's very homage to telenovelas. So it is like,
Oh, okay.
it is almost like a very fantasy-esque version
Okay.
of romance because a lot of times I think romances can take really dark turns.
Like a dark.
Like there's
turn,
always
yeah.
this mature, and I'm sure you've experienced because you've written for romance and you know because you did that. You were talking a little bit before recording
Yeah.
about that movie that you were working on
Yeah.
and how, you know, again there's always this like kind of somber, sad, darker side to like the dynamic that, you know, the characters have to overcome,
Like
or get
Wuthering Heights.
past or-
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is more, again, like on the scope of something like Jane the Virgin, like it has just this prettier iteration or version of
Yeah.
like what that romance looks like.
I wanted it to be dreamlike.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be what she would imagine somebody being like in her dreams. You know, like we go to bed at night and we hope we have those kind of dreams. You know?
Yeah.
The
And-
nice dreams.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was
I mean, he
going
seems
for.
very charming.
I know, right?
And apparently
Yeah.
attractive too.
And apparently very
Yeah.
attractive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I kind of wanted it to be like that.
That's good.
Mhm.
I liked it. I would, on that subject though, as a writer, I was curious because I was thinking about that. We're all women in this room.
What?
Which, yeah. What? You're telling me now?
I know, right?
Damn! I thought I was getting equal pay. Okay, I'm sorry. But I'm bummed. Two step too far. Sorry, folks. I'm just curious because I think, and I think the same is applicable to men, but like what is your process when you're developing a male character versus, obviously with women, it's like there is this, even if they're a character and they're different than us, there's a level of something we can connect with them on, versus when you're writing for a male character, like what does that process look like? How do you develop male characters that feel authentic and, you know, like masculine?
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, it could be something I could kind of work on.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was just curious if you had a process
Yeah.
or if that's something.
Yeah, the first script I wrote was based on, it was a male lead. It was based on Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio, and it was based on his perspective of their love. And I had heard somewhere that he sent roses to her grave for 30 years after he died. She died.
That
She
is
got
like
Yeah.
high dedication.
I mean, like, that's like, I was like, holy cow, that's so romantic. And he never married again, and I guess urban legend has it, his last words on his mouth were, when he was dying, I finally get to see Marilyn. So I thought I really wanted to write something about them, and I had never really seen it. There was this little mini-series, I want to say, on Lifetime, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he was Joe. But it didn't really, like, go into their love, so as I was like outlining it, and I was really going to do it from her perspective, and like I feel like there's a lot of things that my childhood mirrors Marilyn's, and like when I read her writing, I get it because we're both Geminis, and like we both had those kind of childhoods that you know, in foster care. But as I was developing the characters, I was like, no, this needs to be from his perspective. So I made it from his perspective with flashbacks to his time in baseball. So I would say, like, with that, because the other two scripts I'm writing, I'm collaborating with men. My co-writers were men, so they kind of would input with the male characters. So with that script with Joe, I guess what I would kind of, like, I intertwined his masculinity from baseball, but then I also really let him be human. And one of the things I feel like from the baby boomer generation that kind of went away was that, you know, they didn't talk about their feelings a lot. If you watch Mad Men, it was like everything, like, you be a man. You pull yourself up by your bootstrap. Men don't cry. Men don't do this. And, and I really want to, I hope I do in my writing, you know, show that men can have feelings. And I teach my son that. I'm like, do you need to cry? Cry right now. It's not allowed for you. You're not allowed to yell at people when you're mad and sad, but cry it out. Tell me what are your feelings right now? Yeah. You know, and so I hope to raise a man like that, you know. So I don't know. I feel like I do want to explore things with men that maybe are like, you know, I guess like rub against the grain. But then I feel like with that role with Joe DiMaggio, I feel like I really got into his love for this woman. Yeah. But then also his passion for his devoted passion of baseball. Like, so I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I get it. I think that you're saying that while there's a romance to it, and you're exploring like that side of him in the sense that he's, you know, very romantically driven, but also trying to bring in and tie in parts of him that are, again, that masculine nature, like, hey, his athleticism, his, you know, maybe having the boldness to do or say things that, like, a woman in that scenario wouldn't necessarily do or say. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. There was a series called Girls. Did you guys watch it?
No.
That sounds familiar.
I mean, it definitely rings a bell, but I haven't watched it.
They kind of explored, like, characters that were super ultra, like, hyper masculine, and then the characters that kind of had the balance of, like, I guess masculine and feminine creativity. Yeah. Like, I really love those characters. I was kind of more drawn to them.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I loved how they portrayed those characters in that series with men. Yeah. Where they could be men and strongly attracted to women, but also very creative and maybe introverted and maybe, like, you know, I don't know.
That's cool. I definitely love that idea of exploring, I guess, the diversity in characters, like make them multidimensional, allow them to be more than just like a stereotype. That's I like
cool.
that.
Well, and that just goes to show that you're a little bit more capable of writing something that's not what everyone else sees.
Yeah, subverts expectations.
Yeah. I hope so.
I mean, I thought that, like, with the dialogue, it was very, like, I can see someone having this conversation. So, I was trying to go back to the, when they first met. Like, trying to find, it's okay. Trying to find, like, pick up on, like, you know, is there any sort of hint that, you know, he was the barista? Or,
that's
you know,
really
something
good.
like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
like, maybe in her dream, like, the subconscious.
Yeah.
Maybe I could rewrite that in. That's a really
Correct.
good idea.
So I want to make sure I get this and help me understand, like, because you're the writer. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of writers write things ambiguously enough that it's like, let the audience interpret it. From your perspective, though, in the end, is it, like, implied that they've never met before and this is their first encounter, or is it implied that she's maybe been there before and seen him but never really noticed?
I love the idea of audience interpretation.
Okay.
I do love that. I really do. But my idea was that I like kind of writing things that could be a little bit mythical, like, you know, like, what if, you know? And so I feel like the ending, I wrote it where this could be the first time she saw him, but she remembers him from
She somehow, like,
but she could have gotten coffee there before
and then just now realize, oh my God, you're the guy I've been
dreamed about. And maybe they've chatted, like, hey, how's your day going? And she's like, it's great. And then, like,
it's like random coffee dude.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I feel like we have these interactions in our life, and even just the briefest moments can have the biggest impact.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So,
that's cool.
I mean, but again, I was, like, trying to figure out, like, wait, is there something in there? Like, maybe his, like, shirt was green or something, and, like, that would reflect his apron or, you know, something like that. But, I mean, not to say that you have to put that in there. I was just curious.
That's a really good idea. Like, I could totally go through and do another rewrite and just kind of, like, add a little bit more to that scene to kind of make it pop, you know? Yeah.
It's good. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised at the smoking thing. I'm like, no, smoking bad. Like as soon as it came up, I'm like, tisk, you too.
There's still a lot of people out there that do that.
I mean, it is,
Yeah.
I think, surprisingly still common. But
Yeah.
I just, my immediate reaction, like that little PSA in the back of my head was like, no,
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I don't know. I guess that's like another like thing that I don't know. Like I think we live in the real world, and there's people that are stressed, and
Oh yeah,
they use smoking as
like a reliever.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think they do.
Yep.
It's also pretty old school that it's like menthols and not like
I know,
it's not like he
right?
vapes or
I know.
something.
I like that idea where it's like almost like a classic kind of.
Yeah,
you know,
like there's attributes of the
Mhm.
character, and I agree. Like even the way they're described, like their physical appearance stuff, like you do seem to have like draw on like things that are a little, vintagey. Or,
I do.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really do. I like that idea. Yeah. Old soul kind of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
For you as a writer,
Mhm.
like I know this. So is this? Dare I ask? Is this the first pass at this one, or have you done?
So I
multiple?
wrote it, and then like I went through a rewrite before I sent it. So
Okay.
second pass. I'd
Second
say.
pass at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could probably like have another couple set of eyes read through it and be like, hey, you should think about this, and
Yeah.
maybe on the flashback do that, or
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's good. I think, I guess the hardest part to follow for me is the visual cues of like, where are we at this point? Like,
Okay.
how far into the walk are we? Like, sometimes they're having conversations that I feel like there's a bit of a hard transition to a new subject, and
Okay.
I'm like, is that because time has passed and we're at a different point in the hike?
Okay.
Or is that because, like, they just changed subjects?
Okay.
And I don't know, like, I can't tell if it's intentional, and again, it's like there's a passage of time
Yeah.
or not.
Mhm.
And if it is intentional and there is a passage of time, like, on those parts, maybe using scene headings to say, like, moments later or something
Mhm.
would help
Okay. Yeah.
in those areas.
So they actually get to the top, right?
Yeah, kind of
Okay.
like it's like a they kind
They
of,
made it.
Yeah, they made
Yeah.
it wherever they got to.
Yeah.
I guess I could kind of go back through and write Mountaintop. I think I did
But I
do
think
that
you did.
scene direction where it's like Mountaintop,
On the ending one, yeah. I
Yeah.
think so.
because it's like, and it was like one of those scenes where I've never done like really an outside. I mean, the script I wrote, the Christmassy script, the very last scene was an outside scene. But I've never like done something like this where it's like kind of a continual location.
Oh, like it's mostly outside.
Yeah, so like I've never, and I also have never written
And
a
there are a
short
lot of-
screenplay, so I'm like, it challenged me, and that's what I love about screenwriting. Writing comes easy for me, but screenwriting actually challenges me in my work. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so this is a really good.
And your education, though, was screenwriting, right? I mean, well, I know that you said that formatting
Yeah.
wasn't really the priority of it, but
Yeah,
but still, I mean, it was
Yeah,
focused around
yeah.
screen.
And I have a bachelor's in behavioral
Yeah.
health counseling, so I kind of went to school
Oh, wow.
when I was 18 for that.
That probably
Um,
really helps with some of the character
mhm.
development and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love learning about people and like their stories. So
Do you find people dare I ask, do you find people in real life, like, presenting themselves or partially presenting themselves in your characters?
yeah,
Or, okay.
I do. I feel like I interweave like stories I hear that really I connect with. That I'm like, I feel like there's so much humanity and empathy in that story that I want to like bring it out in stories I tell. Because it's a lot of times these people are just doing everyday things that maybe are forgotten, and I feel like it's like, but they have so much meaning, and so I like to interweave them in my stories. Yeah,
That's cool.
Mhm.
Like, precious little moments type
Yeah,
of okay.
totally. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, things that impact me, and yeah.
Cool. All right. Do you have any other questions for Violet?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Other than like, I mean, if you have any more, bring them our way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I
we'd
really
love to see more.
I came up with the title because I was reading a lot of Alan Watts at the time, and I love
Which is
the
referenced
and
to
he quoted
Yeah.
it, and I read this quote and how like and I felt like it was really like appropriate because like in a dream, like if you think about it in a dream, you're not thinking about the past and you're not thinking about the future in a dream. You're just in that moment in the dream.
Yeah.
Like we don't have, like depression is like sad about the past and things that happen, and anxieties worry about the future, and in a dream you don't have that. And so I feel like it's kind of the eternal now when you're in a dream. Like, that is the moment.
Yeah, and you can't go back to now.
You can't.
Because it's
in
happening
that moment.
now.
Yeah. And so it really made me think when I had read that, like, this quote, how what we have is the eternal now, it, like, made me think of this. I'm like, I'm going to call it that. And I had a different title, but I was like, that's what dreams are like. You're just right there.
I like it. I mean, I think it works, and I think it also is almost like a foreshadow in a sense. Like, it's like, hey, the title tells you what it's going to be.
Yeah, what is happening, yeah.
On that subject, though, and this might be crazy, like, with you talking about it and talking about, like, the concepts of time and dream and such, I'm curious, like, I guess the flashback really throws a wrench in it, because it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, because it implies that there's a history. And that is what makes it feel like this is, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're not seeing the ending coming with the dream twist because there's a flashback, so you're establishing, like, these characters having a prior experience and relationship, and that makes it feel like, oh, this is real. Like, and so then when the end pops around and it's like, just kidding, she was dreaming the whole time, it's like, oh, shit. Like, I wouldn't have assumed that that's the direction it's going in.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like that's messing with the element of time could, inside of the context of knowing it to dream. That I think it works and it aids the story, and I think that if you ever expanded it, you could do even more. I mean, like,
interesting,
almost like buying into, like, this depth of a relationship and the progress of it, like 500 Days of Summer, but much more compact, you know? Like,
it was a lot to fit into, like, and I kept saying, like, to myself, okay, I'm going to try to stretch it to, like, 15, 17 pages, but I felt like I got everything I wanted to in the 12, 13 pages.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the duration's good.
I think, I think it's a good length, but that's a really good point. Like, the flashback, one thing that I kind of have throughout every script I write is a flashback. It's kind of like a common theme.
Is that, and because just, again, I don't know the, like, genre of romance that well. Like, do you feel like that's very common to the genre, or do you feel like that's just something that you personally like?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Like, I have seen romantic comedies that have flashbacks, but I've also seen, like, thrillers. I've seen... I love the concept of a flashback because I think we have those moments when we're around people and, like, our mind kind of flashes back. And I love the concept also of time travel, so moving forward, because there's always something we want to change in our life. Like, if we could have prepared ourselves, like, I'd go ahead and go check it out before it happens, you know? And then I like the concept of a flashback. I think it's so dreamlike, and I think, so I wanted to kind of, like,
certainly here.
Throw it in. But, that's it might not be a good fit for this, in this one.
I don't even necessarily think it's a bad fit. I think that, like, even if it was just adding one more occurrence, so it's like, again, meeting that rule of thirds. Like, I don't know if you are a writer, so you're probably more familiar than our listeners, but, like, again, I'm just, for you guys listening, those of you that are new to writing. So the rule of thirds is any time in a story where you want something to come up that has a payoff at the end of the story, you typically mention it twice before you get to the end so that it emphasizes your payoff. So because the payoff is, like, it's a dream and this is a fantasy, I almost feel like adding one more something, like, to establish their relationship or the history of the relationship or even the future of the relationship, like what you said there. Like, even if it's for a brief moment, like when they kiss, like, flashing to, like, it doesn't have to be, like, them getting married or anything, but, like, some sort of epic moment of there's more to this
that they are
that is going to come. Like,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like there's a future
like a
here.
Premonition.
Yeah, almost. And then that way, again, like now you've established that they have a history, like they have a past because of the flashback. They're in the present together, and then they have a future together, and then it's take it away from them. Like
It's
it
gone.
was all a
Then-
lie. Like, she doesn't even know him.
Yeah, that's good. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that
Well,
a
and
lot.
I like that the flashback wasn't so like it was just a literal just like flash.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it wasn't.
It didn't take up too much of the
Yeah,
story.
it was just a literal like, you know, one motion thing
Yes.
of, you know, you touched my back and I
Yeah.
felt this magnetic charge in me and thought, this is very familiar. I want to know that
Yeah.
person. And then that's, you know, when she
No, the
got
pacing
started
of it
with
was good.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't disrupt the flow of
Yeah.
the rest of the conversation
Okay.
that's happening.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have a cool piece, and we're excited
Cool,
to
thank
see where you
you.
go with it.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, great. I mean, Violet, we learned so much from you. Thank you so much
you
for
for having
coming
me.
in and joining us. And do you have any other questions or statements you want to make? Or
No, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Keep writing.
Keep
Don't
writing,
ever give
yes.
up.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, folks. This has been an episode of New Script on the Block. Please make sure to keep checking in on us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and SoundCloud, iTunes, everywhere. Please comment at us on anywhere where you're listening to this podcast. Maybe if you can't comment, not the appropriate time to leave a comment. You're driving, you're at work, we get it. Go ahead, send us an email at info@arizonastudios.com. We'll be sure to forward anything that you comment back at us on this project over to Violet so that she could see your feedback. And feel free to give us any feedback on the show or other works in future podcasts or past podcasts. Make sure you go back and listen to the rest of the show. Get caught up. You'll hear from us next time.
Goodbye.